Welcome, everyone, to the Facing Forward podcast. For those of you just joining us, my name is Andrew Rochambeau, and I work with Dynamic AI Solutions to help businesses in the trades optimize, modernize, and stay competitive as we watch AI change the way we work day to day. So, if you're a business owner and you're interested in how AI can create some leverage for you in your business, feel free to drop the word growth in the comments below, and we'll schedule a free sit down where we'll map that out for you. Otherwise, if you're a business owner, someone looking to get into the trades or start your own business, make sure you stick around to the end because once again, we have on a very exciting guest who actually brings a resume that very few people in the solar and electrical space can match. We have on Peter Ponce de Leon, the owner operator of Vegas Family Solar out of Las Vegas. Peter came up through the trades the right way, formerly trained in San Jose, California, through the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, which is one of the most respected training programs in the electrical industry. From there, he went on to manage electrical systems on some of the most well-known projects in the country. We're talking about the Apple headquarters in Cupertino, the Children's Hospital in Palo Alto, and solar installations on the rooftops of Google in Mountain View. And so that's not really a resume you build overnight. That's 25 plus years of showing up and doing the work, learning from the best electrical professionals in the world. And then from there, he made a move a lot of tradespeople will eventually think about, but not many people actually follow through on. He went on his own. And what sets Peter and Vegas Family Solar apart isn't just the technical expertise that they bring to every job, it's the family first culture behind the company. And Peter, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for that intro, Andrew. I appreciate that.
No problem. So my first question for you today is when did you first get into the electrical industry and what made you want to jump in the first place?
Good question. Yeah. So this probably goes back to about maybe 1999, 2000 is when I got into the trade. I was a young kid with a new baby. I had my firstborn when I was 18, right out of high school, and I needed something to do. And luckily, at about that time, the internet bubbles just started percolating at about 1997, 96.
Hmm.
And being from Silicon Valley, San Jose, California, all the high tech companies reside there from Google to Facebook, Intuit, you name it, they're all there in the Bay Area at least. And so the economy was booming. And I spoke to my uncle who was in the trade, and I said, "Hey, I really need to get into something. I need to make some money." He says, "Okay, you want to get into the electrical trade?" I said, "Yes." So he got me a job. It was a non-union shop and a company called Jackaloni way back in the day. And I started wiring houses, track houses with Jackaloni. And that's for my career. That's when I got into the career and basically went from there. But about 2000, 1999 is when I got into the trade.
That's awesome. So you obviously trained at a very reputable school out in San Jose and worked on some incredible projects that we mentioned before.
Yeah.
So what were those early years like and how did that experience shape you as a contractor?
Yeah. The early years in the trades are extremely difficult. They're
Hmm.
not easy. And a lot of people, not a lot, but there's a certain percentage of people who don't make it through like the 5-year apprenticeship program. There's a lot of work. You got to wake up early and you're going to get dirty. You're going to work hard and that's just the nature of the beast. Like we work outdoors a lot of the time. And if we work indoors, there's no AC running, there's no lighting, there's no heating. So you can be quite cold working in a concrete shell of a building. So it coming up through the trades, it's different for sure. And it molds you in several different ways. One of which you get a lot of tough skin. You learn how to power through the pain. You learn how to work tired. If you're a bit under the weather, maybe in an office environment, you might call in sick or work remotely, right? But in the trade, you can't do that, right? You're going to show up or you're not going to get paid. So you work through, having the flu sometimes, a sore throat, bad cough, a headache. You power through. So you develop thick skin, you toughen up. That's on the physical side and the mental side. And as far as the education goes, you're learning every day, particularly early on. It can be overwhelming for young kids coming up in the electrical trade. There's just so much information. There's so many things to learn. The language we speak out in the field is different than what we speak out, at home or in a different environment. The terminology, the names, so it almost has its own language. So you grow, and it'll take a good 5, 6, 7 years before you're really proficient and it has been exposed to so many different things that we can trust you now to deliver on putting these electrical systems together with minimal or no supervision. So you grow in a lot of different ways, physically, mentally, and you learn it quite a bit, and it's rewarding for sure.
Yeah, there's a reason why it takes, minimum 5 years to actually graduate to a master's. There's a lot more than people think to actually learning it. The
Yeah,
upside
there's
is,
so much. There's so much. Like
yeah.
if when we come up in the trades and we'd talk to the men that we're working with, and we'd have the conversations about one's wives or in-laws and say, what do you do? Well, we refer to ourselves as an inside wireman, a wireman. Well, what's that? It's an electrician. Oh, like they'll say, oh, you crawl in the attic and under houses. And, like
Yep.
there's far more than that, far more to the trade than that for sure. And we just talk to ourselves at work like, yeah, they don't understand what we do. You can't
Not at
see
all.
electricity, right? If I built you a bridge, well, look at the bridge. If I built you a house, I can see that, but you don't see electricity. We
Hmm.
really just take it for granted for the most part.
Yeah, it's true. So, walk me through how you went from working jobs in California to starting Vegas Family Solar, obviously in Vegas, and what made you decide that it was time to go out on your own?
Yeah, that's a great question. Ever since I was young, I always wanted to start my own company. Even when I first got into the union, I mean, when I first got into the trade, in my first 4 or 5 years, I worked non-union. And I always told myself, I want to open my own shop. And I would do all the side work on the side, and I would do quite a bit. And personally, I don't like being told what to do. When I can see my wife or my kids or what have you. I'm a bit of a free bird in that regard. So I've always been an entrepreneur, and even coming up in the trades, I've joined like some multi-level marketing companies, and learned how to, learned a little bit more about business and marketing and sales and whatnot. So I've always wanted to do more than just be a worker, if you will. And so over time, I just got really hooked on that mission to be independent.
Mm,
So to be frank, I mean, I did my best to get out of the trade. You know, I
mm,
I actually was studying to be a financial advisor. When I was in the trade, I was selling a lot of life insurance. I was doing a lot of estate planning. I was
mm,
studying for my securities license, and that was my exit to leave the trade.
mm,
Because in the trade, it's hard work. You'll break your body down, and like back in San Jose, California, you might not be aware of this, or maybe you are, but San Jose is the most expensive city in the United States.
mm.
And it's been that way for, 20 years now, at least top three.
Wow.
So yeah, I was working and I was pretty successful as a union electrician, working on these great projects and supposedly making great money. But I was working 50, 60 hours a week.
Mm,
So if you're going to work 50, 60 hours a week in the trade, you have to take care of yourself.
mm.
So you're not drinking, you're
Yeah.
going to bed really early. You're eating as healthy as you can. Now, some guys don't do that and they don't last. They get sick or they have a heart attack or they retire early because their health catches up with them. But if you want
Mm,
to last in the trades, you have to take care of yourself. You got to go to bed early. So I'd wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning,
mm,
come home by 4 or 5, unwind for an hour, eat, shower, and go right to bed, basically.
mm.
So it was my family that was living a great life. My kids were in, all, judo and boxing and
Yeah.
ballet and, soccer and baseball, you name it.
Mm.
Me, I was just the guy who paid all the bills. And it was like that because it was San Jose, California, and it's just so expensive to live there. And I said, well, I have no freedom. I'm like, my family has a lot of freedom, but I don't. So I fell in love with the financial world, and I came out to Vegas, really to open up my own financial firm. But I realized quickly there's far more money in the electrical trade.
Mm.
If I try to sell you a financial product, Andrew, I'd be chasing you around town. Andrew, remember, we're going to move this money to this account. You're going to buy this insurance policy. We're going to do this estate plan for you. But in my industry, people call me.
Mm.
They chase me down. to some degree.
Hmm.
So and
That's
uh,
awesome. Like it frees you up to do what you're good at and what you enjoy, the job you signed up to do rather than
oh,
cold
totally.
call and email everybody.
Exactly. Like I still I'm an investor and I still study the markets and I manage my men as well. We have multiple projects going on currently. I just came from one of our projects that we have. I rushed home to make this podcast. But yeah, I'm able to really do the things that interest me, make breakfast, lunch for my wife and my kids very often, not all the time, but I'm far more available to them now than I ever been.
Hmm.
Before, like my wife and my kids had the best relationship ever, right? Like they're all
Yeah.
best friends, and dad would come, oh, there's dad, yeah, he's hungry and tired, give him space, right? But I'm like, dude, I want that relationship too.
Yeah.
Like I was yearning for that relationship with my daughters
Hmm.
and my youngest son, and I said I have to be freer, more free than I was before, and which is why I opened my own company, and
Hmm.
now I've got a large portion of that back.
That's awesome. So you came to Vegas looking to do financial services, ended up opening up an electrical business. Have you kind of noticed in your own kind of business, your own path, has your history in the financial services influenced the way that you run your business that's different than companies in the market?
I think it has in
Okay.
terms of my outlook into the future. Like when I came out here, I met a lot of, I was cold calling and I was cold knocking like you wouldn't believe. I was networking like you wouldn't believe. And I met a
Mm,
lot of people, pro athletes, big business people out here, some of which I'm still close with. And they offered me like, jobs and the whole nine yard because I think they liked my foresight into the future. Like
mm,
we talk about business and what's happening. So because of my passion and I've been studying economics and business on my own, self-taught for the past, I think since 2008, since the last financial crisis.
wow.
When that happened, we all got laid off. Like I wasn't working.
Mm,
We were just barely making it during that time because our bills were so expensive, but everyone got laid off that time. No one had a job,
mm,
and we're just trying to live off of like, scraps, if you will. So at that point, I realized what's happening in the economy. All these people were saying, oh, it's because of this, it was because of that, it was because of this. So I started studying economics, a specific school of thought, Austrian economics, and I began to learn what was happening, and I got a pretty good grasp of the economy, which is economics is a very simple social science, by the way. It's very simple. The it's academia that twisted into this Frankenstein. So that my outlook on economics helps me in my business because I can it's far easier to see where the next turn in the economy is
mm.
and how that would likely affect me. And I've given a lot of advice to a lot of so-called important people here in Vegas. And like, wow, Peter, you turned out to be fairly accurate. That was a great call.
Mm.
So we're able to really kind of prepare for what we think is going to happen. And one thing that we saw happening was a lot of inflation that was being created during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, we're just sending out stimulus checks
Yeah.
while at the same time shutting down production. So it doesn't take a rocket science that prices were going to rise, and they
Yeah.
did. Now, I couldn't really do much about it. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop the pain. I had to take a bite out of that crap sandwich just like everyone else. But we
Yeah.
were able to do a few things we profited off it a little bit, but
Mm.
we did some other things to cushion the blow. And
Yep.
we were able to do that. And going forward, we're able to, see what we think is going to happen. And you
Mm.
just, if you don't have a tremendous amount of resources, if you're not super rich, which I'm not, you're going to have to just take the blow, but prepare for it as best you can. And I think we're able to do that. So
Yeah.
the financial industry has helped me in the trade in that regard, I would say.
That's awesome. You're almost able to manufacture a buffer, which is super helpful. You can take anything you can get in business these days.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, we can't afford not to take this job, right? I tell my wife, yeah, we got to take this job. There's not much
Yep.
money in it. I go, yeah, but at least we'll keep our men busy and we'll put a few bucks in our pocket.
Yep.
And that usually leads to something else because we'll meet somebody, we'll get a referral,
Hmm.
and we're out, being productive. And usually
Yeah.
the universe will reward you or at least present opportunity to you when you're out being productive. Like no one's going to knock on your door and say, "Hey, Peter, I got a job for you."
Yep.
Don't work that way.
Early on, like when you first started Vegas Family Solar, what were some of the biggest mistakes or successes that taught you the biggest lessons?
Yeah, dude, tons of mistakes, right? Tons of mistakes in this industry. And no matter what you do, anything that you venture out on, there's going to be some mistakes. And the bigger the venture, the mistakes are going to have that much more sting to them because there's just so much at risk.
Hmm.
And it's going to cost you money. Like, if we're doing like a $70,000, $80,000 solar project and I
Yeah.
miss something, okay. Well, wow,
Yep.
okay, we finished the project, everything went well, but the margins were thinner than I otherwise thought. But I think some of the biggest mistakes that we've made were that we were so enthused to jump in with our eyes wide shut. It's really easy. Like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for, 27 years. I've designed and installed electrical systems. Solar is actually a very simple, easy system
Okay.
uh, to design and install. It's usually like a 1 day project when we have projects that are going on for 2, 3 months. So other electrical projects. So
Yeah.
it's really simple. So it's really easy to get like, oh yeah, I can do this no problem. But there are fine details, particularly when it comes to residential solar, that
Yeah.
you don't want to miss. And the one thing that we did miss was the availability of um, competent, enthused labor.
Hmm.
We're going through a major labor shortage right now in the trades. And I know guys who are traveling to build these data centers and they're making $250,000 a year. They're working 60, 70, no, maybe not 70, about 50, 60 hours a week living in a hotel, right?
Yep.
Away from their family. And unfortunately, they're giving a large portion of that 250 back to Uncle Sam because it's earned income. But they're
Hmm.
making a great living, more so than most people who are earning income, right? I mean, they might be at the top, you know, um, 80 percentile of earners, maybe 90 percentile of earners in the
Yeah.
US, which is wonderful. Um, so there's a shortage, and these companies are having major shortages of skilled labor, not just labor. Like we can get bodies off the street, but have they been properly trained? Have they been to school so they know the why as to what they're doing?
Hmm.
Also, are they enthused to show up to work every day?
Yep.
Like I've hired guys who are book smart as all hell, have all the knowledge in the world, but I put them on a job, and 2 days later I come back, I say, "Wow, that's all you got done, man? We got to get this job done, or we're not going to make any
Yep.
money, man." So my biggest mistake was underestimating the quality of the labor force when it came to installing solar
Hmm.
specifically. We still have that challenge outside of solar.
Yep.
Well, specifically speaking to solar, you know, it was the labor force that they weren't very well trained,
Yeah.
and some of them were highly enthused, but a highly enthused, untrained labor force will cost you far more money than a labor force that is untrained and not very motivated to work.
Yep.
Yeah, because they can get real ahead, they get ahead of you real quick,
Hmm.
and they can get ahead of you real quick and make some costly mistakes, and you have to go back and fix them. So we underestimated the quality of the labor force out here, and that costed me probably at least in the beginning, probably like upwards of $40,000 easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
I just had on a guy, I don't think the episode is out quite yet, but had on a guy up from my region, like New Hampshire, Vermont. He's with the ABC of New Hampshire
Beautiful.
and Vermont,
Yep. Great.
talking about labor shortage and the ways that they're doing stuff in this region to kind of develop that. Are you familiar with similar programs in the Nevada area, or are you doing stuff with your company to help develop and train up that workforce?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love ABC. They're a great program. They've been around for a long time. They're located throughout the entire US.
Hmm.
Um, Provided the instructor is there. Like when I went to school in the union, um, sometimes the instructors will look away and just kind of pass you.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, there's an incentive to do that. And there's an incentive to do that at ABC as well. But there's an incentive to do that at every in high school or in higher education. There could be an incentive just to pass people and get them through type of thing.
Mm,
And unfortunately, that's a bit of a kind of an epidemic across the entire educational system. So,
mm,
provided that the instructor is motivated and enthused, you know, the kids are gonna learn stuff. Young men and women are gonna learn what they need to learn, and the students have to be motivated to want to learn.
mm.
So we do send our guys to school. There is a program out here called UEI,
Okay.
and it's a small program, and it's they offer 12-week courses
Mm,
as intros into specific portions of the trade, which
mm.
is not entirely the best in my opinion.
Okay.
I think a 5-year program is the best, maybe because that's what I did and I'm familiar with it. Who knows? Maybe this the other one is better. I don't know.
Mm,
But we appreciate it because it allows me to see which men in my labor force are willing to go to school and become a professional.
mm.
And that's what it comes down to. Like, do you want to be a professional or do you want to be a laborer?
Yep.
Want to be a day laborer? Okay, we're going to bump your pay down and you're just going to do the grunt work and
Yep.
we're not going to pour into you and invest in you. And
Mm,
believe it or not, some guys actually do prefer that.
mm,
Not many, but there are a few. And I think it's because they're just afraid to learn, or maybe they have a learning disability.
mm.
All guys in the trade have, most, not all guys. I mean, I've had some tremendously smart people who are engineers who came back to the trades because they didn't like the corporate world. But a
Yeah.
lot of the guys in the trade, they had some learning disability, right? They weren't
Yeah.
the best in school, which is why they went to go into the trades. But it so happens that the trades are in high demand and it requires a lot of skill, a lot of school. Like, it was tough for me to get through the 5-year program. My
Mm,
wife had to tutor me through the math. The trig was one of my biggest challenges, not necessarily algebra, but it was a trigonometry.
yep.
So, so we do send our young men to school, and it allows us to see who wants to be a professional. And if they do want to be
Yeah.
a pro and they stick around longer, we invest further into them. And I actually host a class here in my house.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll train them even further.
That's awesome. I love that approach, kind of weeding out, you know, if you look at it from the financial side, you just have to figure out which investments are going to give you a return later on. And it's a short little 12-week investment
Oh,
to be able to figure
totally.
that out.
Yeah, totally. I want to pour into my men. I tell my men too. I said, listen, I'm going to pour into you. I'm going to train you. You guys, I'm going to, you guys are going to go to school and learn so much. I go, I'm a free market capitalist. Okay. You can tell me, hey, Peter, I want more money or I'm out. And if I can't match that money and you get that offer elsewhere, then that means the value that I poured into you, you'll be rewarded for that value at another company.
Mm,
Okay, I'm cool with that. Okay,
mm,
because that's just the nature of the beast. It's a competitive market, right? Companies compete for labor.
yep.
And if you have the skills, you can negotiate, or you can be in a position to maybe have more opportunity, make more money, or
Yeah.
what have you. And so I think like my economics point of view kind of allows me to see the real picture. Like, I can point to these guys and they can leave, and that's just the way it is. But
Mm,
they usually come back. If they leave, they sometimes come back because it is a small uh, industry.
yep.
We all kind of know each other. We're all going to cross paths again
Yep.
in the future sometime.
Awesome. Well, looking back at the business, what would you say is the biggest difference between running the business today versus when you first started it?
Mm. It's usually the personalities, the new people you're
Mm,
bringing on board. It's the new faces, the new relationships that you develop with your men. I have a young apprentice right now, and he's a great kid, right? And he wants to learn. And so, you build a relationship with them. You get to know them a bit more. So I'd say the relationships, and also the economy. Like
okay.
uh, like the economy has been on a very interesting ride for the past 2 years.
Mm,
Like um, the 30% tax credit that homeowners would normally receive has now been done away with by the Trump administration.
mm,
So now, that has changed how we market and who we market to for solar systems. And now it's basically people who are looking to pay cash for these systems. So I would say it's the people that you work with that are constantly changing, like the seasons,
Yep.
and the economy. I wish the economy was a bit more stable, but it's really just
Yeah.
swinging back and forth. I mean, we're still experiencing a lot of inflation within the industry. Like I go buy material, like, wow, dude, this is so expensive now.
Yep.
And it really puts a pinch on us because I got to go back and say to the general contractor, listen, like, can we play with these numbers or can we both eat a little bit, and we'll
Yep.
usually play ball with each other because he's going to ask me a favor in another couple of months. Hey, Peter,
Yep.
they need this. So, but the economy and the personalities
Mm.
are probably the biggest changes back and forth that we're seeing right now.
Yeah. One thing, just heard previously about, renewable energy, solar in specific, is, and you kind of touched on it there, is the government incentives on, renewable energy or certain administrations pulling back those same incentives. So how have you managed the company as you kind of watch administrations come and go, policies change? I mean, how does that affect you?
Oh, it totally affects us. It affects the entire industry. Technically, or realistically speaking, the solar industry is in a massive recession right now. Massive recession. All the big companies a lot of them have gone out of business, and the ones that
Mm,
are remaining are skating on thin ice right now. And that's in large part because the 30% tax credit has exited, but more so it comes down to their operations. Um, Solar is a very simple installation, if you will. It takes usually one day to do, and that's really a really simple job. Uh, but since it takes only one day, and say it takes maybe 7 to 8 men, that right there is an added cost that most contractors didn't really take into consideration.
mm,
Like I have a job that's going on. It's taking us, say we're at least 3 months in. It's a big custom house,
mm,
and so I have all material. We call them gang boxes, our big tool boxes. They're set up. They're posted up. Our material gets delivered there, right? My men just show up in their vehicles and bring their lunch and do their work and go home at the end of the day. But imagine if I had to break that job down every day
mm.
and relocate it to another job and do
Yep.
that every day and maybe even do that 3, 4 times a day
Mm,
at 3, 4 different jobs per week. Well, I'll need more men to drive the equipment, more company vehicles, which means more notes to pay on it, which means more insurance, which means more men working men when they're tired, they're going to take advantage of you. That's just the way it is. They're going to
yep.
hide somewhere. They're going to, slow down quite a bit than they otherwise would be. They're hungover, whatever it is. So if I have to go from job to job to job every day, break down and set up, break down and set up, well, now I need more trailers, more company vehicles, like I said, that is an added cost in a major way.
Mm,
Now I need to store these vehicles
mm.
in a warehouse because people will break into your cars because they know you have copper. Copper is a hot commodity, right? Oh yeah, it's
Yep.
an electrical company, it's a solar company. They got copper somewhere. Let's break it in. Let's break in. Let's find out where it's at.
Mm,
Now I need a warehouse to secure these vans and
mm.
trucks. They need maintenance, right? So the
Yeah.
big companies are really hurting because they really didn't appreciate that added cost.
Mm,
Solar is really for medium to smaller size companies. Like
mm.
we couldn't scale in a big way like the big ones.
Yep.
It wouldn't be worth it. The money wouldn't be there.
Mm.
We wouldn't be able to make the profits that we should have. And some people will say, I've heard people say, well, you can make it on volume. We're not Walmart, okay? I don't sell canned goods in aisle 4 with
Yep.
packaged chips that have a great shelf life, right?
Yep.
We manage land, labor, and capital. It's
Mm.
dangerous on these roofs. The insurance is very expensive.
Yeah.
One bad job at a home could, erase 12 jobs worth of profit just like that.
Yeah.
You got to hire motivated management foremen to watch every small detail, right? So it get very expensive to go too big for the simple
Mm.
fact of setting up and having to break down at every job that only takes a day and a half to complete.
Hmm.
So
Seems like solar is, as far as trades go, it's pretty simple on the trade side of things, but the business side of things is even heavier than perhaps across other trades.
oh, that's a good way of putting it, Andrew. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
Um, so looking at the business, obviously you got a pretty solid family operation going. Your wife handles the design. You have certain operations managers and local partners. But as the owner, what is one task that you find consistently pulls you away from focusing on growing? Or, I mean, we kind of talked there about the need more for maintenance than sustained growth. But what would you say is one task that kind of pulls you away from focusing on those types of things?
Probably the biggest thing that pulls me away is probably managing my men.
Yeah.
Because in order to be successful in this industry, it's my opinion that you have to be a micromanager, but you got to be a soft touching micromanager, because it's your business, it's your butt. Like any one of my employees can cut and run. Oh yeah, I got another job at the shop down the street with your competitor, right?
Yep.
But me, I have to stay and put things back together or fix things or tend to it. So the biggest thing that pulls me away is having to be a micromanager. And that's because it's so hard to find somebody like me, like
Hmm.
who knows what I know, who has the experience that that experience and can watch and manage our men properly. I
Hmm.
mean, I have one guy who's great, and I just let one guy go because he wasn't managing our men. I'd show
Hmm.
up at the job site unannounced, right?
Yep.
He'd be in his car, right? I'm like, how come you're not on the roof watching these penetrations? Like,
Hmm.
I had a fight with my girlfriend, I had a big fight. I go, I'm sorry about that, and I know how that is to fight with your girl. And, you want to handle it at that moment because you're all emotional about it. But at the same time, we have a very expensive project. It's a $40,000 job right now.
Yep.
Uh, we need to be done today so we can get paid in the next few days and move on to the next one. But if you're not there to watch our men and hold them accountable, um, they're going to cut corners sometimes because that's what tired men do.
Yep.
Everyone would do it. And every tired man whose back is hurting, is blazing hot sun,
Yeah.
it's going to start rationalizing. They don't really need this right here. This doesn't really need to be that perfect, right?
Yep.
And that can infect the entire job. So we need someone to go up there and say, hey, if you need a break, come on down. Hey, let me help you out with this. Hey, you're doing good. Hey, let me help you do this together. So they know that you're there, and at the same time, like we're making sure the job is done to a T.
Hmm.
So I had to let that foreman go because he was basically taking advantage of the company, me, and not fulfilling his obligations.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
hard truth of running a business sometimes.
It is. It is. Like I tell you, if you come in here enthused and fired up, and maybe not fired up, just give it 8 for 8 and do a solid job, which you should, because how do you go home at night and say, yeah, I cut corners all day and I'm proud of myself. I don't say how you can do that, right? If you do that,
Yeah.
you'll exceed far. You'll be at the top percentile of all the performers. Like, yeah, you'll get raises.
Yeah.
You'll be in position to reap all the rewards that should come to you in this industry.
Hmm.
If the industry is not for you, then you want to go find an industry that is for you because
Hmm.
there's no easy way to make it in this world. You're going to work hard one way or the other.
Hmm. Yeah. So looking at the market that you're in, solar in Las Vegas seems like something that just sells itself. But how do you actually manage the peaks and valleys of demand?
It does sell itself for sure. Um, you don't have to sell it. If you sell it, um, you don't have to. You just need to change your approach.
Hmm.
Solar is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. And we see some predictions by people who are in the solar industry, who are big manufacturers, and they're saying we have a minimum of 5 years of high demand. And that's primarily due because electric rates are so high. If you
Yeah.
look at the rate of inflation just with electricity in the past 5 years, it's like compounded. It's probably about 30-40% right now.
Wow.
And it's still going up. Like, yeah, people don't understand that inflation compounds, just like your compound interest on on a savings account. But the
Hmm.
way that the government reports it is a year over year number. So it just basically resets.
Yep.
So inflation was 5% this year, and then next year, the following year is 3%. Year over year, it's only 3%. But
Yep.
you add those 2 years together, it's 8%.
Yep.
So, and unfortunately, people don't grasp that and see, like, like they feel it, and which is why they're not happy with the high prices. But
Yeah.
they see the numbers, oh, inflation beat expectations. It's only, year over year, 3%. Well, compound that for the past 5 years, dude, we're all, this is not a good thing for us. So, um,
Hmm.
if I lost my train of thought. What was your question again, Andrew?
The question was talking about how do you manage the peaks and valleys of demand?
Okay. Yeah, the demand. So, selling the solar, that's right.
Yep.
Um, As long as electricity rates continue to rise, which they will, particularly because electricity is simply, think of it as a commodity. It's in super high demand, but it's in very low supply. So the price has to go up. And people
Yep.
say, like, well, why? Like I speak to people and I run ads and I tell the truth, like, the price have to go up. And I talk about, they're like, why does it have to go up? Because when prices go up, it sends a signal to the manufacturers and then the suppliers and everybody involved to produce more because they can make more money, right? That's just
Hmm.
what pricing is, a signal, and that's what it does. It tells you that, hey, produce more because you can make more. So they produce more comes out to the market, then the price falls.
Hmm.
So and that's basic supply and demand. But if if rates still keep rising, which they will, because we don't produce enough electricity for all of the demand,
Hmm.
particularly here in the deserts of southern Nevada, because it's so hot. Heat and electricity are mortal enemies. They don't work together. The hotter it comes, the more electricity you need. The more
Yep.
electricity you need, the more resistance builds up. And it's a
Hmm.
self-feeding where it gets to the point where the system could break under its own weight, which is
Hmm.
why you have these rolling blackouts, like and sometimes we'd have them in California.
Hmm.
The system gets so heavy, and the people monitoring the system would see that, wow, if we don't turn it off, um, we can break the system, and that'll
Hmm.
cause much more damage and much more money to fix. So
Hmm.
rates will continue to rise. And you throw AI into the mix in data centers. I've worked on dozens of data centers. They suck so much energy. Like the data centers
Hmm.
are just a big warehouse full of electrical panels sucking energy.
Yeah.
Switchgear, redundancy, like it's just a tremendous energy suck. But we don't create enough energy right now.
Hmm.
So rates have been going up for electricity for the past year and a half, in large part because of these data centers going online.
Hmm.
So as long as electricity keeps going up,
Yeah.
we're going to be a logical solution for that problem, at least to consider. They may
Yeah.
not pull the trigger because price plays a big role in it, of course, but it's going to be something that they look at,
Yeah.
particularly the deserts of southern Nevada, because maybe New Hampshire is similar to like Northern California, where we have redwood trees, apple trees, avocado trees, pear trees. My
Yeah.
backyard, we had every tree you can think of, bro. Like I kid you not, back in the Bay Area. Here in Southern Nevada, I'm looking out my window. Shading is almost no issue whatsoever.
Hmm.
And we get more peak sun hours than about 89% of the entire continental US. And I
Wow.
mean, livable, like in the, in not in like Death Valley.
Yep.
So it's always a, very logical solution to at least consider seriously.
Hmm.
So well, we think that we're going to be able to weather the storm that the industry is in currently, and then as long as we keep doing our job and explaining in a professional way and articulating,
Yeah.
what it is we do and how we do it, we think we're going to be in a good position to take care of ourselves with solar.
Hmm. It's awesome. Looking at kind of industry as a whole, how do you think? Obviously, we kind of beginning of the year kind of saw a huge run up in silver. But how
Oh
do you
yeah.
see
Yeah.
do you see that affecting the solar industry at all? I know silver is a pretty vital component of batteries, panels, and such like that. But what are
Oh
your
yeah,
thoughts on it?
totally. Yeah, we made some good money on silver, by the way. Yeah, we made a lot of
Congratulations.
money on our gold stocks and our silver stocks, right? And my son, I think I told him buy some more. He called me, so should I buy more when it dropped? I said, yeah, buy more certainly. But yeah, unfortunately, the inputs for all electrical systems, be it solar or non-solar. And solar is just another electrical design that requires silver, copper, aluminum, steel, and plastic. And that's no different than any other electrical job. So unfortunately, the inputs for these things that we use to help facilitate this energy are all going up. And that
Mm,
is a net negative on the industry. Um, Fortunately, solar panels, um, they can't get that much more expensive because everyone has the technology to create a really solid solar panel. Like I know some customers who want the best solar panel there is, right? But as I drive around town, I see solar panels from like 10, 15 years ago, and I knock on their doors. How is your solar system still working? They're like, yeah, it's still working great.
mm,
Like it's still working extremely well. It's not producing like it used to, but we expected that, but we're still extremely happy with it.
mm,
So what I'm saying is that solar panels, you can get high quality panels for relatively inexpensive money, at least right now. We'll see how that plays out. But as long as the input costs keep going up, silver, steel, copper, platinum, plastics, it's going to be a net negative, and we have to absorb those some way, somehow. We'll have to take some of the hit ourselves as a company, pass on some of it to our end consumer. And inflation, price inflation is a negative for everyone unless you're buying silver and gold stocks or hedge against inflation, and that hedge actually pays off. That's the only time that it's a good thing. But
mm.
but even then, it's not necessarily a good thing because what you're making up in, like, say, if you bought some silver stocks, you're paying for it in other parts of your life that your food, your distribution,
Yeah.
your vehicle, whatever it might be. So unfortunately, it's a net negative across the U.S., the price inflation. We just have
Mm,
to, take the punches, roll with them a little bit as best we can.
mm. Yeah. Love that take. So once again, kind of going back on the business itself, when you have a lead that comes in, whether it's ad or phone call, web form, but they don't book immediately, what process do you use to follow up and convert? And how much of that is automated?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I personally call all of our leads. Um,
Mm.
I don't trust anybody with it, right? Uh, I used to teach a lot of sales, and I worked with some of the best sales people on the planet. You might know of them if I mention their names. I used to run a lot of their sales organizations, hundreds and hundreds of people, and I got to learn from them as well.
Mm,
So I train a couple of my guys on how to speak to people and what to say, but I do it all basically primarily myself. And when it comes to solar, and there's a challenge with selling solar. There's a challenge with selling everything today because people are so skeptical of salespeople
yeah.
because they have the access to the internet too. Like, yeah, they identify the sales tactics you're using and the scripts that you're using, the word tracks that you might be using, like they've heard it before. So also, solar has given itself a black eye as an industry because you have these, people going out, like, selling a system that should cost maybe 25,000, selling it for like 30, $40,000
Mm,
because the financing was so cheap.
mm,
When people bought it, they got caught up in the kind of in the heat of the moment. Wow, it's a really low payment. But after it's said and done, dude, you're buying four solar systems, and now they're figuring it out, and now they're not happy. And everyone's Googling, right? There's no secrets in this world. I tell people there are no more secrets in this world. Everything is being recorded, right? All your
yep.
comments, all your videos. So if you're going to speak something that's controversial, at least be willing to stand by it and be true and be the truth,
Yeah.
as if you will. So they always have a level of skepticism, but I usually direct them to my YouTube channel.
Okay.
A lot of times they've already done that homework. They already looked me up and watched some of my content. And people want to know that you are a professional, meaning you know this thing. You're not just a sales guy who can open up some software and try to say, hey, this is what you'll save, right?
Yep.
Because the homeowners are saying, okay, well, I want this type of system. I want this type of inverter. I heard this is the problem with that inverter or that solar panel. So you really need to be schooled and and the consumer, the prospect is actually weeding out the salespeople.
Hmm.
They're qualifying us.
Hmm.
when we think we're attempting to qualify them. So if you just stand out from the rest and you become a professional, like we have a job that we just closed. It's like maybe a 74,000 job. The guy knows his stuff. He's an attorney. He did all the homework, and this is what he wanted. He goes, Peter, I'm going with you because you're the only company who can do this job with the equipment that I want.
Hmm.
Um, and he sat down with the three other companies already.
Wow.
So you have to be a true professional
Hmm.
because your consumer is doing all of their homework and they're qualifying you.
Hmm.
So if they're serious, they usually close rather quickly. If they
Yep.
don't close rather quickly, I follow up with them personally. I'll
Yep.
give them a call, I'll send them a text, um, but I won't bombard them.
Yeah.
Like the sales industry, they do what some of these sales gurus do, and I know a few of them. I know a few of them personally. Call until they die, follow up. But everyone is doing that. If you're the only person with that hardcore follow up, you would get the attention and they might
Yep.
gravitate towards you or at least give you another opportunity. But if
Hmm.
every salesperson is getting that same advice and they're getting, like, I get so many spam calls every day, solicitors every day, and I tell them, take me off the list. I'm not going to do business with you. And they're
Yep.
just calling, they're antagonizing me. So if
Hmm.
I meet another salesperson, I do in person, quite often, and they're like that pushy salesness,
Yep.
you have to get away from me because
Hmm.
you sound like everyone else.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
the sales approach is being a professional, being soft, but follow up frequently.
Yeah.
And if they're serious, they'll give you the time. But
Hmm.
you're not going to learn this fancy word track that switches them and say, "Oh yeah, wow, that was so, I'm so blown away by your deep close, Peter. You have my business now." It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way, and
Hmm.
sometimes people just won't buy. Some people are kicking tires. Not everyone
Hmm.
is a buyer, and you can't force someone who's not a buyer to be a buyer.
Hmm.
And none of it's automated. We
Hmm.
don't automate anything. Maybe I should. I've thought about it. But I haven't automated anything yet. It's just usually me. I'll sit down every morning for a couple of hours, and then out of those 2 hours, and I'm at home at my office, I'll just okay. I'm gonna follow up on these guys, follow up on these guys, follow up and follow up.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so you might have touched on some of the elements kind of earlier in the conversation, but when a homeowner is choosing between you and one of like the national solar companies or even other smaller companies, what would you say is the most important factor that makes them go with you with Vegas Family Solar versus, those other companies?
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword. Some people like the big nationals. Like
Okay.
we've been turned down a few times. Oh, we want the big guys.
Hmm.
And then I'd ask why. They say, well, because we feel they'll be in business longer. When it's the big guys who are going out of business fastest, right? All the
Hmm.
big guys got wiped out. They're all done, right? But some people love the big name. They feel comfortable there, right?
Yep.
And we do our best to help them see the light. But once they're set on the big guy, you're not going to change their mind. It doesn't work that way. You
Hmm.
can only someone who is going to change their mind is they have to be open to seeing another alternative. But they're
Hmm.
already closed off psychologically. No matter what you say, you're just going to piss them off until you get the hell out of their house, type of thing, right? Some guys, some of them like the big guys.
Hmm.
They feel better with them. Um, where we stand out is when they review my content and when they meet me. And I wish I had someone just like me to help, do more of this, right? But it's hard to find quality people who
Yeah.
are true professionals right now. But when they watch my content and they meet with me and my team, we are almost always top two. Like, is it Vegas Family Solar or Company X? We're always top two.
Hmm.
And then a little luck goes a long way, right? Um, um, you just hope that they make the right decision and you're the one that they choose. You're
Hmm.
not always going to win it, right? But you got to be graceful about it. And then when you do
Yeah.
get that project, you follow through on everything that you promised, and
Hmm.
that way they're happy and you're happy. So some people like the smaller mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
Most people don't, though.
It seems,
Unfortunately, most people don't. But what we have that they don't have is expertise in the
yeah.
industry. They'll have a sales guy who opens a laptop and just designs it, and that's all that they can do, and
Hmm.
they can't explain why.
Yeah.
So I'll sit down with a customer. I'll say, I'll ask them, in terms of solar, what have you seen that's caught in your eye?
Hmm.
What's this? What kind of, oh yeah, I want this product. Or I was looking at this YouTube guy. He has great product, whether it's
Yeah.
EG4 or EcoFlow or
Hmm.
Enphase, right? But they usually want something exotic like EcoFlow or EG4, which are phenomenal products, and we install them both. And once they know that you know those systems well, then that's our
Hmm.
comparative advantage over the big guys.
Like it seems like the advantage talking about is like it comes down to a word that's been mentioned a lot here is the professionalism. And then even just dialing all the way back to the introduction, though, it's the 25, 27 years of experience. It's the training. It's every project you've worked on before, and that the fact that you actually know everything you're doing, you've done it all
Yeah,
so
I
many
would
times
agree with that.
before.
Yeah, I would agree with that because when you're
Hmm.
selling a system to, say, you're selling a cash system to somebody, it's $50,000 or 40 or $70,000.
Yeah.
Someone who's going to pay cash for that, they're successful. They're not idiots. They've been around the block times and they've suffered their own defeats.
Hmm.
And they're usually business owners or successful within their careers. Game recognized game. Like I've been around the block a few times. I can spot a BSer rather quickly.
Hmm.
They can too, but at the same time, they can spot someone who actually knows their stuff, or at least they believe knows their stuff. That
Hmm.
puts them in a state of comfort and a higher level of certainty, at least for a short time, where you have the opportunity to prove them right or
Hmm.
disprove them, type of
Hmm.
thing. So it comes down to it comes down to the individual.
Hmm. Awesome. So, looking beyond revenue, what would you say is the most important metric that you track to know if the business is healthy or not?
Well, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I would say customers calling us back
Okay.
and with delight,
Hmm.
with wanting to speak to us more, with kind of wanting to almost hang out,
Okay.
want some of your time just to communicate. Like,
Hmm.
we have quite a few of those customers who um, who love speaking to us, who call us for other matters, other things,
Hmm.
enjoy our company. They invite us over for coffee or dinner or lunch,
Hmm.
and it's very common here. So that's probably the uh, the number one gauge. Uh, Maybe that would even be more important than revenue
Hmm.
because and these companies, some of these companies made a ton of revenue. They went out of business and they made a ton of profit until um, things went sideways, you
Yeah.
know. But if you make people happy, if they're happy with you and you did a great job and you gave them a fair value, uh, I think the rest kind of takes care of itself
Hmm.
for the most part.
Hmm. So, as a leader in the business, where would you say you're currently investing the most time, money, or resources to improve that overall health?
Investing in our people,
Hmm.
we do a tremendous amount of investing in our people. And that too is a double-edged sword too, because some people don't want to be invested in. Like
Yep.
what? How you don't want me to help you? I'm showing you how to make great money. Yeah, but you can quit after a year or two, go somewhere else and do great for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it here with us, but you know, it's investing in our people. Like I
Hmm.
invest in my wife, my team, my designers, uh, our labor force. Like I'm
Hmm.
constantly pouring into them. And that's where probably most of my time and energy go into because you can't build a construction company by yourself. It doesn't work that way. I'm
Yeah.
not selling a, 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 a- I'm not selling a product that's made of software,
Yep.
right? Or phones, right? No,
Yep.
like I'm managing real men who are building real things that have a lot of risk potentially. So I pour most of my time and energy is pouring into my people to
Hmm.
the point where they don't want to even hear it anymore. Like, oh my God.
Yep. So the solar industry is also obviously an industry that's moving fast, incentives change, battery storage grows. As someone who's spent so much time in the industry, what changes do you see kind of in the pipeline for this industry?
Oh, that's a great question. We are blown away by the technology that's being introduced to the marketplace by all of these great manufacturers and providers of solar equipment, from inverters to batteries, you name it. Like, the technology is outstanding, and it's a shame that it took so long for technology to get to where it's at today.
Hmm.
Um, because I wanted that technology to be out years ago, but it's just now hitting the market. Excuse me. Um, but we're blown away by it because it's making our jobs easier. It's making it more of a plug and play application. It removes a lot of the labor that was once needed for a solar system. It's removing a lot of the material that was needed for an older solar system. And by default, by removing some of the material that would be required, you're eliminating some of the labor as well.
Hmm.
The systems are all performing extremely well right now. Like, everyone's happy with their solar system, provided it's installed and designed properly. Uh, so we're pumped up. And what I'd like to see is these systems become more and more independent of the grid. 'Cause
Okay.
unfortunately, utility companies are just government created monopolies. Like,
Yep.
like, yeah, yeah, the utility company is charging me so much money. Well, there's no competition, right?
Yep.
But if you pretended for a second that the delivery of electricity was a complete laissez-faire free market. Well, you'd have all these solar organizations knocking on doors, say, listen, we can make it completely here in the deserts, by the way, we can make it completely off grid.
Hmm.
And you won't need anybody or anything, no utility company ever again.
Hmm.
And if you want to sell it back to the utility company can connect to you and buy power directly from you because they still need it, which is happening right now currently, by the way, which is the I think for what kind of contracts they are, but it's happening currently. But unfortunately, if you have a house, you have to be connected to the grid. And if you have a solar system, you have to get permission by the utility company to be connected to their grid because they own the grid. And
Hmm.
rightfully so, I would want you to have permission too. But now, um, solar companies, they have inverters that disconnect you from the grid entirely. Like, we
Hmm.
have people with our EG4 systems where they're running their entire houses during the day off of their solar system, meaning their inverter is actually carrying a load. It's a multi-mode inverter. The inverters of old, like a Solar Edge or even the microinverters from Enphase, they don't carry a load. It's simply an arithmetic accounting of current flows. Like, you
Hmm.
can't just turn off your power from the utility and run off your house. I mean, run off your solar system that's attached to your rooftop.
Yep.
It work that way because the inverters are not designed to carry a load. They cannot carry a load. They simply account for current flows that go on to your electrical panel and use that voltage source to pull from. But once it pulls from that voltage source, the utility claims ownership of everything that you provide. So a lot of people think that, oh
Hmm.
yeah, during the day, my solar system, my house runs on my solar system. Then at night, I pull from the grid, provided
Hmm.
they don't have batteries. No, 100% of what you produce goes to the utility company, and
Hmm.
they simply just uh, reconcile it at the end of the month.
Hmm.
Because the inverter cannot carry a load. Like, people dispute this with me. I said it can't carry a load. Like, it doesn't work that way. Go turn off your electrical panel and just run off your solar during the day. Well, I can't. Well, why? Because the solar system will turn off
Hmm.
because it needs a voltage source to pull loads from. So, but now these inverters, they do carry a load.
Hmm.
They're much bigger inverter, very, industrial like inverters, but they carry a load. So that's pulling people away further from the utility company, making them more and more independent. And I
Hmm.
believe technology moves much quicker than the bureaucracies within the utility commissions. So by
Yep.
the time utility commissions kind of catch up, the technology is already so far out there that they can't. And
Hmm.
that's what I'm excited about, is really energy independence and being able to, you know, do what you want with your house as you see fit. And if that means
Hmm.
having a completely off-grid system in the middle of the city and not be attached to the grid, then so be it. It's
Hmm.
up to you to do it.
It's awesome. So I also saw that you guys donate $500 on behalf of every solar customer to the Just One project. Just tell me a little bit about what that means to you and why you built that into the business model.
Okay, yeah, we love to give back, you know. Giving back is great because like our whole purpose of giving back is to help people, you know, who need that help. Everyone needs a hand up sometimes. Everyone, dude. Like I've been down on my luck a few times in my life, dude. And man, like I was like, I can use some help right now. Sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't. But there's nothing wrong with helping people out today.
Mm.
You see so many, I'm a free market capitalist, right? Big time. But I see so many like, you know, rich, filthy rich people running these companies, right? I'm like, wow, I think to myself, wow, you guys can be heroes if you did a little bit more for your labor force.
Mm.
You know, because you can afford, I'm not for government forcing you to do it,
Yeah.
but I'm for convincing you through articulation and helping you see the value of helping people,
Mm.
and you actually will become the hero, and it'll benefit you. You'll feel good about yourself, and you're not going to, your lifestyle is not going to take a back seat in any way, right? You're not going
Yep.
to, you're still going to drink the best champagne and sleep, you know, and you know, drive the fanciest cars or boats, whatever it might be. It's not going to damp your style. So when we donate, we want to help people who are in need, but we're hoping that we can help um, show other business owners that, hey, help out too, man.
Yep.
You know,
Mm.
like, you can't take it all with you, and you feel good about it. You
Mm.
know, the old saying is, I forgot you know, what philosopher says this, but when we donate or we help people, we do it for ourselves. It makes us
Mm.
feel good. Okay, good. Go feel good about yourself and help out as many people as you can. You
Yeah.
know, so we're hoping to start and show people that, hey, you can do the same. You know,
Mm.
you'll feel good, and it helps the community, and it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, looking at success as a topic, what does that look like to you today compared to when you first started? And looking ahead, what does a successful business look like to you in the next 2 to 3 years?
Success to me really would be a great reputation. If we have a great reputation, if we maintain our reputation, the money is going to come. You
Yep.
know, the security from that money will follow. But it really comes down to our reputation. That's the number one priority, at least from my perspective.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, you know, as long
Yeah.
as we stay true to us, and then we articulate, and then we educate, and we genuinely see things through, um, the rest will follow. Yeah, we need to
Mm.
market properly, and we need to you know, present, you know, a certain image, I guess.
Yep.
But reputation is everything. And in order to get that reputation, certainly we need to, you know, get more business, and get in front of more people and all that
Yep.
stuff. But reputation is everything.
Yeah. So, coming into the last couple questions I have for you today, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is where you were at 18 or 19 years old? And what's something that those people don't typically
Mm.
recognize about what it takes to succeed in the trades?
Okay. Any young man out there who's getting into the trades at 18, 19, this is what you want to do. You want to um, don't drink alcohol, or keep it to a minimum. Certainly don't use drugs. Those are a complete waste of time. Take care of yourself and master your craft as soon as you can. Some people are able to master their craft within a very short period of time. Some people, because they have not been focused on it and they're out partying or spending their money, um, take a little bit longer. I would say invest in yourself, master your craft, be the best that you can be, and save your money. You know, like coming up in the trades, you can make really good money up out of truck. I saw guys buy brand new trucks, like 60, $80,000 trucks. Like, oh my gosh, what are you doing now?
Yep.
Hey, come on, go add a new portfolio. Yeah, we got a 401k and a pension and another 401k in the union, right? Okay, open a new portfolio. Learn how to actively manage that yourself, right? Under consume. So I'd say save your money, uh, take care of your health, because without your health, you're not going to do this job. Like if I lose my ability to maneuver or walk, or use my limbs, I won't be able to go out and be an electrician. I can't go to a job site in a wheelchair or on crutches and say, yeah, I want a job here.
Yeah.
Like, we appreciate that, but man, we need guys who can actually get the job done, sorry. So your body, your health, and invest in yourself and save your money.
Mm.
Stack up as much money as you can. And then after 8, 12 years, you would have gained some wisdom and some experience, and you would have, been exposed to different perspectives. Okay, now what do you do with that money? Okay, now with all this knowledge and your abilities, now you decide how to best leverage that to benefit you and your family the best you can.
Mm. That's awesome. Thank you for that. For the people watching, where can they find you or your company?
You can find us at vegasfamilysolar.com. We have a YouTube channel, Vegas Family Solar, Instagram, Vegas Family Solar, and we talk about the industry, what's happening. We have a lot of great information on Facebook, Vegas Family Solar, tremendous amount of information. You probably won't find it from any other solar industry company.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So for those of you watching, especially those of you guys in the Las Vegas area, feel free to look Peter up, give him a call, start making money off the sun.
That's right.
Um, so thank you all watching, and I'll see you on the next one.